My beautiful people, let's go. I'm going to talk about an interest of mine, which is conversations. Conversations, words. I think they're both beautiful things. To start off, I'm looking down and took some notes because my mind got to catch those thoughts before they scurry off. So let's do it. Okay, so I've always had this thought. I always come back to it. Why me? Since I've been maybe 15, 16, 17, I've been somebody who other people are so open to opening up to. I remember when I was 17, I had this coworker who must have been 8 years older than me, so mid-20s, and I worked at this sports facility. She was like an administration person, office lady, and one day it's just me and her. We're not really that close. We would always just talk about the schedule and what I had to do, where I had to be, how many people I'd have, like kids in a group. And this one day, I guess I was just hanging around because I had practice soon after work. She just tells me about her boyfriend and things that she's not really liking about him and all that. And I just listen and I give her the space. And then as I'm leaving, I actually turn back and I tell her, hey, what made you so comfortable with talking to me? And she said, oh, Ricky, actually, I thought the same thing. And I think it's because you just make it so easy to talk to. And I've always been curious about that because I know for myself, I don't have such an easy time talking to everybody about what I want to talk about. It's either shut down or the conversation's pivoted into what they want to talk about. And I've never seen it like that. I've always found it so curious that as long as you're the person that opens the floodgates come, the water comes. I'll say hi to a person, and as long as they're willing, we can go the distance. I remember when I was getting my fingerprints taken for a Morgan Stanley internship, I went and I literally asked the guy, I remember, busy week? And that one question led us into a hour and 15-minute conversation of a man I never met before in my life. This beautiful black soul named Falier. I know how to spell it. He ended up telling me that this picture on this back wall was of him and his daughter on his shoulders, and how he wanted to make sure they were there when Obama got inaugurated as president. And he also gave me advice regarding how to keep in touch with family, which really touched on me. And so again, I wonder, why me though? If there was anybody else who walked into that room with a Falier, that man, what's the probability that they get to those conversations that we touched upon? I don't know, and that fascinates me. So it's the willingness, it's the courage to begin the conversation, and then it takes two to tango. The other person has to be willing to engage and open up. And I always find myself able to go the distance with somebody with what they're willing to talk about, because in conversation, the way I think about it is that there are branches. So you ask somebody about, let's say, oh yeah, I saw that you went on that trip to Utah skiing. Okay, that's one big branch, maybe the whole chunk of the conversation. And then they respond to you by saying, yeah, like me and my family, ever since I was a kid, we would go to this one resort and I learned how to ski. So boom, bingo, bango, you got open the floodgates to talk about family, childhood, the things they enjoyed doing, how the experience itself, just off one question. And then you could imagine that if you choose to go down the family route, so many different branches and routes you can get down to. Talking about childhood, same thing. Talk about the experience itself, same thing. And you just offer them the space to speak. Sometimes, yeah, I struggle with it too, how I want to say something, I have something ready because I think, oh, this is cool, and I want to toss it into the combo. But I have found that it is such an anchor, and an anchor in a bad sense. Like, it'll hold you back in the ability to connect with somebody if The conversation is going, and you kind of get a benchmark point here, and it's going and it's going. They keep talking, but you force it back here. No, every single time I've done that, in my personal experience, it's actually pulled the conversation back in a negative way, stifled where the conversation could have went, where the connection could have went, and it's been a practice of mine to consciously let it go. And now again, I think that's why I found that people have such an easy time talking to me, because I'm willing to do that for them. And so I'm just so curious at the fact that I don't really meet a lot of people who are willing to let somebody go like that. And it's been a very rare occurrence where I can go back and forth with somebody. Branches, and I think it's a beautiful thing, because that's life. Conversation is life. Conversation is new perspective. The stories that people tell, I literally hold some of them in like a cookie jar to come back to when I'm in a similar situation. Would I do that? Yes or no? One of the stories in my mind, this is just a wild, random thing. Not even a personal story somebody told me, but this comedian was about to go on stage, and the comedian that was just finishing up, let me start over. So this comedian, he's up and coming, right? And then he sees the guy who's about to go up on the stage. Guy's divorced. He slips on a wedding ring before he gets up on stage, because all of his gimmicks and jokes were about him being married and how annoying it was to have a spouse. And the comedian, it dawned upon him in that moment that he never wanted to fake a life just for the approval of the crowd. I remember that. I remember David Chappelle's story of how he felt as if he told the story of a bamboo and a photographer or hunter in the wild. The hunter photographer is getting thirsty, so what do? They put a cube of salt, which bamboo's not bamboo. Those crazy monkeys, bonobos. I'm not sure. But dig a hole, put the salt in the hole, make the hole big enough so the bonobo could reach in and grab it, small enough so it couldn't hold on to the salt and get its hand out. What would happen? Hunter would find what's they call bonobo, and it would refuse to let go. So he would capture it, give the bonobo as much salt as it wanted, and then release it. Because the first place the bonobo would go to would be the water. Dave Chappelle spoke on that because he felt as if that's the situation he was finding himself in, with these networks offering him like $50 million deals, which everybody was saying, hey, he'd be crazy if he didn't take it. Dave Chappelle put his hand in, but he was smart enough to let go and flee. I always thought that was a wildly cool story. And so I would love to be a part of this emerging conversation of just getting people to speak more, have the courage to talk to people, to strangers. I've literally had a conversation with this girl in Philly because I asked her, oh, hey, do you know what name river that is? She was like, oh, it's a Schuylkill. And then I literally go, would you like to have a conversation? That tickles me. But it's so possible. I've literally seen my grandfather have a conversation within 90 seconds in a 90-second golf cart ride. He told his whole life story and received the other guy's life story. And you never know the supply and the resources that can come from different people simply because you're a good person and you care about people and you care about their stories. This is why it matters to me, because people matter. You matter. The stories you have matter, and they should be shared because you have no idea who they're going to touch. Like Dave Chappelle telling that story of the bonobo, like that comedian telling the story of not putting on a mask and then going up to perform for the crowd. And I just wonder, how deep does it go? I don't think I'll ever find out, but I'm willing to pursue it the rest of my life. And bingo bango, that's 10 minutes on the dot. You guys, you lot are amazing. Talk soon.